This episode of the Sloopcast is brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. The Mad Canadian Barbecue Company is an Ohio-based company located in Cary, Ohio, where they say our seasoning will take your barbecue from good to great. Mad Canadian is pretty busy this week, going to be going to a number of places in Cary and Findlay this week. This Monday, they will be up at North Vance Street in Cary, Ohio from 11 to 3. On the 15th, Wednesday, the corner of North and Patterson in Cary, Ohio from 4 to 7. This Thursday at the Shrine Cafeteria in Cary, Ohio, 4 to 7. This Friday at the Millstream Credit Union on Fostoria Avenue in Findlay, Ohio from 11 to 3. And this next Sunday on the 19th, they'll be up at the Findlay Crafted Nano Brewery on Tiffin Avenue in Findlay from 11 to 6. If you missed any of that, check out his social medias on Facebook, on Twitter, to figure out where him and his food truck are heading to next. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, the official barbecue of the Cary High School Blue Devils.
This episode of the Sloopcast is also brought to you by the Iron Bean Coffee Company. The Iron Bean Coffee Company is an Ohio-based, veteran-owned, micro-roast, hand-roast, roast-to-order coffee company. I tried to switch it up there. I don't know if it went well or not. All of their beans are fair trade certified and USDA organic. I told you they were Ohio-based. They're more specifically in Toledo, more specifically yet still in Perrysburg, Ohio. All of their beans are imported directly from coffee farms in places like Colombia, Brazil, Uganda, Honduras, Peru, Ethiopia, Indonesia, and other far-off lands. Some of their most popular coffees are available in K-Cup. Gift cards are available. Subscribe and Save is available, and you get free shipping over $50. I'll tell you some more about the individual coffee blends that they have in the next ad read. But if you want to find that out for yourself, go ahead and go to ironbeancoffee.com. That's Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster. Chandler Jones has 5 sacks today. They're talking NFL down in our live chat. 5 sacks. Now that's how you start. That's how you start a season.
That's crazy.
As in Tyler Lewan, Austin. Yeah. That does make it better. You're right. Oh, Taylor, whatever. He's from Michigan. I don't care.
All right, we got a lot to talk to about today, Jared. So let's hop right into it. I know, but let's hop into it.
We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How you doing today, Kyle?
As well as it can be. As well as it can be.
So Kyle, I woke up this morning and I looked outside. Mm-hmm. The sun came up. Everything's fine. We're still spinning. We're still alive. We're still spinning. Everything's gonna be okay. There's issues. There's issues with Ohio State. That's the go without saying. I know because you're in here, so you're alive, Austin. You're in here, so you're alive. It's fine. I don't even necessarily know where to start with everything that's gone wrong with Ohio State football this past week. I think maybe the place to start to me is coaching. I think you turned over a lot of the defense, talent-wise. There's a lot of new faces on the defense. And yet we still have a lot of the same problems. So how else are we supposed to proceed other than with coaching? And Kyle and I, we spent a great deal of the off season and a great deal of last season saying, hey, everyone chill out on Kerry Coombs, the pandemic and the lack of coaching opportunity because of players being out and everything else. I think we have to chill on Kerry Coombs a bit. And I think one of the things you have to do, just as a human in general, um, is admit when you are wrong. And I think it's time for at least me to admit when I was wrong and say that I don't want to say I was wrong for being patient with Kerry Combs. I think patience is in fact a virtue. Um, but the patience has run out. The honeymoon is over. The excuses are over. And I want to also include Al Washington in this because the linebackers continue to struggle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We gave him that pass just because last year COVID happened and everything that went along with not not much practicing, the amount of turnover from the secondary. So we gave Kerry Coombs a
Combs.
thank you. Kerry Coombs a a pass for last year, but yeah, just not acceptable right now, especially with the talent that Ohio State has right now. It's not a matter of talent either. Ohio State's been recruiting as well as the top dogs right now in past years. So it's not recruiting, it's not talent. So it's got to come down to the defensive coordinators, the position coaches on this team here. So look no further than what Jared just mentioned with Kerry and Al Washington.
Yeah, and Austin, the linebackers have been issues for years and it hasn't been fixed. I agree. I don't know why Cody Simon isn't getting more snaps. He seems to be an absolute burst of energy when he is out there. Why he's not getting there shouldn't be any linebackers getting more snaps in my mind than Cody Simon. He's the only linebacker I see who's consistently, whether it be against the run or against the pass, consistently making plays, consistently in the right position. I don't know how. If you have one linebacker on the field, if you go into a package in which you have one linebacker on the field, that person needs to be Cody Simon. And that's just not even a question for me anymore. And Ohio State's, we branded our Monday episode standard and grade. So let's do that because otherwise we're just going to talk all over the place. So Kyle, let's start with the coaching. I know that's not first in our list, but that's what we're talking about. And I believe it to be the issue in play here. What do you give overall? And this is offense, defense, head coaching, all of it. The entire kit.
I'd give it a D plus. I give it a D plus just because of they have things going right. Not all game, but for quite a bit of the game, I think they did some things well offensively.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of questionable play calling on third down, on fourth down, and some decision making from CJ Stroud as well. But talking about coaching here,
right?
I think the play calling offensively well, but man, defense is just play calling, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But yeah, I think combining all of that, I would give it a D plus.
I'm gonna do a straight D, and that's only because I think that they're doing well offensively coaching the ball. Ryan Day has had some game management decisions that I have not agreed with the past 2 weeks. Offensively, I think they've done a fantastic job trying to get CJ Stroud up to speed. There's a lot of lazy, I'm just going to say lazy fans, lazy armchair analysts out there who just want to blame the quarterback for everything. And like, I'm not saying CJ Stroud is Justin Fields, but it's not fair to expect him to be. And that's another, Kyle and I said that all off season. He's a redshirt freshman quarterback. You can't expect him to be Justin Fields right away. That's just not fair.
Get into Justin Fields here, or Justin. Get into CJ Stroud here.
That's my fault.
CJ Stroud here. Yeah.
I don't want to leave the coaching conversation yet. I don't want to get too
Yeah.
far
No,
ahead.
no, there's some things um over at the Buckeye Scoop I won't repeat because it's actually a lot of great information, insider stuff from Nevada Buck. So I won't repeat a lot of things, but there let's just say there's a reason why Ohio State's defense looked as bad as they did because Oregon knew Oregon knew what was happening. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, Austin says Fields was a redshirt freshman when he started too, though. I get the argument. Technically, no, he wasn't. He was a sophomore. He did not redshirt while he was at Georgia. He did get some snaps while he was at Georgia, although never as. No, he was a sophomore at Ohio State. I thought they used the 4-game rule. No, he was absolutely a sophomore at Ohio State. I don't know if the 4-game rule was, but anyway, he actually got a fair amount of snaps while at Georgia, not in like real game quarterback, like honest snaps, but he did get a lot of snaps while he was at Georgia. In a compared considering he was the backup quarterback, so considering he actually got a fair amount of snaps at Georgia, but also Justin Fields is legitimately like one of the top 4 or 5 highly ranked quarterback recruits of all time. So also acknowledge that like he and Trevor Lawrence, who is Trevor Lawrence being just it was literally like 1,000th of a point higher ranked than Justin Fields. That those two guys are anomalies as
Yeah.
far as like being immediately good, right? You just like right away.
Mhm. So
But
coaching here,
coaching.
go, go,
Sorry.
going back to the yeah, going back to the coaching here. It's it's everybody, whether you're on social media, whether you're in our Discord, everybody knew that Ohio State's scheme needed to change, and we were hoping to see that in the second half, but it was more of the same thing where you Oregon was running the same play, getting the same 8.5+ yards for those for those running to the left and kicking it out, moving a tight end in motion, clearing it out. Everybody knew what was happening, but Ohio State, or I'll just say Kerry, was just being stubborn and not changing his scheme at all. And you got to get away from that. You got to get away, especially if you know that the type of offense that your opponent is running and your scheme that you're wanting to run for most of the year is not going to work. You need to change it up. You have to.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, Austin, playing devil's advocate, Ewers is the best quarterback recruit. Yeah, but he's not. I get that he's a. And by the way, I know that you aren't saying this because you said devil's advocate, so I acknowledge that. Ewers isn't even. Yeah, I know Ewers is a freshman, but he's not a freshman. He's a high school senior, and he's been with the team for less than a month. So
Yeah.
whole
All
different
right.
story there. If I were doing and we're not, if I was doing just a grade for the defensive side of the ball, coaching wise, it's a straight F.
The straight F.
It's a
Yeah.
straight
Straight
F.
F.
There's no like offensively, they probably get like a B. And if we're talking strictly offensive coaching, a B or better, I don't know. I didn't put we're not doing that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because maybe it's I don't know, because ultimately you have to score points, and they had red zone issues and all of that. It's not all about yards. Um, but yeah, defensive coaching is a straight F. Everything Ohio State was doing yesterday defensively was basic and predictable, and everything a defense can't be. It was plain, it was vanilla, it was predictable. Um, you can't you I'm not saying you can't ever run a man defense. And I'm not saying Ohio State doesn't have the talent to run a man defense. I'm not saying either of those things. What I'm saying is that you can't essentially run the same defensive scheme the entire football game, which is what Ohio State was doing. If I say 90% of the time, I feel like I'm being generous. I feel like to say they were doing something outside of what they were doing the entire time, more than 10% of the time, I feel like I'm being generous. I feel like 90%, I feel like it's a real generous number. I feel like they were basically running the exact same scheme 90+% of the time. And you can't do that. You can't essentially give away the playbook to the other team.
Yep.
And Oregon knew exactly what Ohio State was going to do before they did it. They scored their first 3 touchdowns against Ohio State using the exact same running play against Ohio State's exact same defense that, by the way, featured a pulling guard that the guard didn't have anyone to block on all 3 of those touchdowns. That's how wide open the field was. This is how wide open the field was. Is that the pulling offensive lineman just basically walked in with the running back. And it happened 3 times. 1 time, okay, hey, you got us. Good job. 3 times. It's not essentially all Oregon was doing was pulling the wide receiver into motion, leaving the field empty on the short side of the field, and then running a stretch play with a pulling guard as a lead blocker, and it was just money every time.
Yep.
All right.
It absolutely was. All right. So yeah, coaching staff. I think we'll just stick with the D rating here. So let's talk about the rest of the defense here. So the defensive line, what would you give them a rating of?
The defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like in last week's episode, we kind of gave a decent grade, maybe a better grade than we should have to maybe some of the corners because they were so young. So I feel like we've kind of established this sort of grading based off of expectation. And if we're grading based off of expectation, the defensive line gets a straight F. I'm sorry, they get a straight F. This was supposed to be the strength of this defense. You're supposed to have these young linebackers and these young defensive backs, but it's okay because we have Haskell Garrett coming back and we have 5-star Zach Harrison ready to take over. And we got Tyreek Smith ready to take over. And where the hell were they yesterday?
Raleigh said it best. 0 quarterback pressures, no sacks. And I think they only had 1 tackle for loss all game.
Is that true?
One.
They did that 1 tackle for loss the entire game. I need confirmation on that because I said that.
1. They have 1.
That's insane.
And it was a half tackle for loss for Garrett and half tackle loss for Vincent.
Yeah, if we're going to give leniency to the young groups, then we have to grade the defensive line more strictly, and they get a straight F.
Yeah, straight F. I completely agree. Yeah. Oh, if you said also Nomad, apologize. I'm looking at the very bottom of the page there. So if you said it Nomad, I'll give you credit too. Linebackers, I'd give them an F as well. Just being very too reactive to plays. They're having their eyes in the backfield instead of their man, and it's cost them way, way too many times. Whether the running back goes out or you have a tight end that comes out too, is just terrible. The linebacker group played terrible. Now, when Cody Simon came in, they played better.
One of the things
I'd give him an F.
One of the things that bothers me, and I've seen both Mitchell and Eichenberg do this a lot, is like on a run play, they seem to like and I'm not talking about pre-snap, I'm talking after the snap, they tend to like run up to the line of scrimmage and like engage blockers instead of like trying to scrape to where the hole is and fill the gap. I think they're
That was like
doing a terrible job
that
filling the gap.
that's what happened in 2019 and what everybody was getting pissed about where where the linebackers were filling up and then left that wide open space right behind them in that 5-10 yard mark there. That's what I feel like what happened in this game.
That was pre-snap when they were doing, I think 2018, was that 2018? It was Shauna's
2018 or 19.
Shauna's last year, where the linebackers were playing a lot basically standing on the line of scrimmage. But that's not exactly what's happening here because they are starting behind the line of scrimmage, but they tend to just sort of go forward without actually reading the play. Like Kyle said, I don't feel like they're reading the play effectively. And that goes back to coaching. That all goes back to coaching, in my opinion. So it all sort of relates back to that. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, the linebackers get an F.
Yeah. Now, defensive backs, I'll probably give them one of the highest ratings. I'll probably give them a B. I think overall the defensive backs did really well. Yes, the corners.
Yeah.
The corners I thought did really well. So I'd give them a B. I'd give them a B.
Yeah, wild. This was supposed to be the weakness of the team, right? Denzel Burke took an amazing step forward from week 1 to week 2. Amazing step forward. He was real shaky in week 1. Then he looked like a boss in week 2. Yeah, we're getting there, gangland. Cam Brown came back this week, and I thought that he looked really good for a corner coming back from his first game after completely blowing up his Achilles. He was not perfect. I don't think we should have expected him to be perfect coming back, but he flashed greatness, and he did. He really flashed greatness. Agreed. Cavazos is not ready. He's just not ready. He's young. He's not ready yet. He needs a little bit more time in the oven, I think. Burke's very young. He's a true freshman. So that's what makes a lot of it so impressive. I'm insanely impressed by Denzel Burke right now. So incredibly impressed.
He does remind me a lot like Arnett. He does.
Gangland asked, what the is going on with 7? I have no idea. Dude's not showing up on the injury report. Therefore, we have to assume that he's not injured, but he's not playing. He is warming up. He's done this twice in a row now. He's warmed up before the game, not appeared on the injury report before the game, and then has just straight not played. And if you want to try and say, well, maybe Burke and Brown took his spot, but then like, how is Cavazos getting on the field? None of it makes sense. Something else is happening there. But what? What is that something else? Because Ohio State does not typically hide injuries, or ever hide injuries. They don't ever hide disciplinary stuff. So what is it? And this was supposed to be the guy who was supposed to be the guy this year for the corners. It's I don't know. It feels like a total mystery to me.
Yeah, it's a complete mystery to all of the Buckeye insiders too. It's a complete mystery right now. All right, in the safeties here, Jared. Safeties, I want to give.
It's weird because I feel like Proctor when he played was great, but that's it. Like I can't really say anything nice about anyone else.
That's why I was going to give them like a D.
Yeah, and especially like moving forward, because at this point we can make the assumption that Proctor's out for the rest of the year. They brought him an air cast and a cart immediately.
And when they cover his leg up, not just with the with the air cast, but you put a towel over the injury too. No one else can see it.
Yeah,
it's bad. I don't expect Proctor the rest of the season.
No,
So that's
no.
That's a big blow for this last
Gangland said he thought Ransom and Hickman did well. I don't agree. I think that again, they're young. I'm not bashing them. They're very good players. I think they'll be very good players. They're just not there yet. And this was part of the problem. We knew coming in that the secondary was going to be talented and inexperienced, but that the defensive line was supposed to make up for that, and they aren't. Kyle, we're going so far over right now. Let's do a quick ad read.
Yep.
We'll come back and we'll do the offense.
All right. So let's go ahead and hear from the McKinney Barbecue Company. I'll just read off the dates again for those who missed at the beginning of the show. So if you want some of that delicious Mad Canadian barbecue food from the Mad Canadian food truck, he'll be in Cary this Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday will be at North Vance Street. Wednesday will be at the corner of North and Patterson. And this Thursday will be at the Shrine Cafeteria. And then this Friday, he'll be at the Millstream Credit Union on Fostoria Avenue in Findlay from 11 to 3. And this Sunday, he'll be at the Findlay Crafted Nano Brewery on Tiffin Avenue in Findlay, Ohio from 11 to 6. If you haven't had any of his food and you're in that area, I'd highly recommend go grab a lunch, go grab dinner, depending on the timing, and go get some of the food. It's so good. If you get any of these times or dates, check out his social medias, Facebook, on Twitter, search for Mad Canadian Barbecue, and you'll find him and all the information you need from there. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, the official barbecue of the Cary High School Blue Devils.
This episode of this Loopcast also brought to you by the Iron Bean Coffee Company. The Iron Bean Coffee Company, I already did all that. Local and marine-owned, fresh roasted, all that. We did that in the first ad read. Let's talk about some of their individual coffees, like the Fear No Evil, which is not even a dark roast. It's a straight black roast. It's roasted to the brink of flames. It's rich, dark. It's void of all light. It has a beautiful sheen to it. It looks like polished armor, has a feel of like cocoa butter. It's an amazing coffee. Their flagship roast, which is another dark roast. It's called the Integrity. It's their, like I said, it's their flagship roast of the entire company. They highly recommend it if you're an espresso person. This would be the coffee that you would pick to make your espressos. If we're looking at some other dark roasts, there is the Fierce, which is made with 100% Arabica beans. Let's see what else. We have the Rocco, which is available both medium and dark, which he says is a special and unique Ethiopian natural. He says it's for those who enjoy their in coffees that insist on being noticed. And then Kyle, I believe this one's personally my favorite of the dark roast over at the Iron Bean Coffee Company. It's the Drink from the Skull of Your Enemy. It's a traditional Indonesian coffee. It's edgy and it's smoky. Kind of has like notes of like cedar and tobacco and wine and spice. It's a very complex coffee. I really enjoy it. So if you want to check that out or a bunch of other amazing coffees, I've barely scratched the surface, go to ironbeancoffee.com. Again, that is Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster. All right, Kyle. We need to move a little bit fast here because we're basically already at the half-hour mark, which is supposed to be our spot that we're aiming for. Not that we will ever hit that, but that's supposed to be what we're aiming for. So the offense, I feel like, is significantly less of the issue right now. That's not to say that they are perfect. That's not to say they are without their flaws, but I don't feel like the offense is the problem right now.
Yep.
And I feel like a lot of the problems that will be solved or that need to be solved will be solved simply by CJ Stroud continuing to get experience.
Agree. So real quick here, quarterback. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to give the quarterback a B. I thought overall, I thought CJ Stroud did really well. Now, some of his decision making early on, high throws, you saw a lot of people were saying it. I think if he can hold on to the ball in some of those RPOs, get a little bit more confidence, be a little bit more stronger with the ball, I think it'll make him a better quarterback. But I give him a B overall.
I'm going to go B plus. Again, I'm grading on a scale here of him, again, like with the defensive line. I'm going to hold them to a higher standard because of what we expected of them. But I'm going to hold CJ Stroud to what I believe to be a more appropriate standard as a guy making his second ever, not just start, but appearance in a college football game.
Yep.
So I'm going to go B plus personally. I think he's not perfect yet, but he's getting where he needs to be. I think he played very well.
Yep. Running back, man, I feel like the running backs were very just non-existent, but I think when they did get the ball, I thought they did really well. So maybe B minus.
I'm gonna actually disagree with you here, and I'm gonna say A because I don't think they were the problem. We'll get to that here in a couple positions.
Well, and one good thing too that I'd like to see from Trevion Henderson.
What Gangland said, the running back
as a true freshman, getting out there and picking up those blitzes. That's good. That's what we're waiting to see from Trevion. And the more he does that, the more he's going to take more snaps, which, by the way, he got 12 carries in this game.
Right.
All right. Wide receivers. How can you not give them an A, honestly? How could you not give them an A? You got three receivers that went for over 100 yards. The first time in Ohio State history. JSN, Olave, Wilson. Spectacular. I got to give them an A. You could probably give them an A minus. There were some drops here and there, but
that
as a whole, and especially early on when CJ Stroud was throwing the ball high and them having to make adjustments to catch the ball high. Yeah, I give them a solid A.
Gangland, the only drop that I would consider egregious was by a tight end. So I feel totally comfortable giving them an A.
Okay, so the tight end, we'll go to the tight end then. I give the tight ends a B. They played all right.
Where were they? But it's also not their fault that I don't know where they were necessarily, specifically Ruckert. I don't know why the first big tight end pass, and maybe it's because you were hoping they weren't going to be expecting it, but they were because he was completely covered. But I don't know why your first like big down the field pass to a tight end all year was to not Jeremy Ruckert. Yeah. And then the ball ends up getting dropped. And I think that leads to Ohio State getting a second touchdown in the first quarter if that ball is held on to.
Yep. All right. Offensive lineman, Jared.
Again, if we have to grade based off of expectation, and if we have to grade based off of experience, they get an F. Ohio State was supposed to win this game because of the trenches. Ohio State lost this game. If I had to break it down to three reasons, it's one, because of a basic and predictable defense. That's number one in my book. Number two would be the complete underperformance of the defensive line. And number three would be Ohio State's inability to block for their running backs. So to me, it's a core reason why Ohio State lost this game was because of the offensive line's inability to run block.
Yeah, no, they struggled against a smaller, more agile defensive line, and it showed here. It's something that this experienced offensive line needs to get better at, and expected of them to be able to handle this defensive line from Oregon. But I mean, you got to get hats off to the Oregon's coaching staff for getting their players ready for that. It's
a defensive line. A defensive line, by the way, that was missing its best player, a linebacking core that was missing one of its best players. That can't go unstated.
Yes, absolutely. And then special teams.
Fine, whatever.
Special teams.
A couple really nice. Actually, not fine, whatever. I think special teams played well. I think they get an A. There was a really nice punt.
Yeah,
that led.
They had 2 at the 1 yard line.
Yeah. They get an A. It's fine.
The only knock was the kick out of bounds.
Stop asking them to do that. My answer that goes to coaching in my mind. Stop asking them to try and coffin corner the stupid kickoffs. I thought we were done with that when Urban left. What is that crap? Kick it out of the back of the end zone and play some goddamn defense.
Yep. All right, Jared. All right. Real quick with some Ask Sloopcast questions here. Stewart is among with many other Ohio State fans. Ask the question, fire Kerry Coombs?
So the question is, can you get first? Not until after the season. I don't think that's going to be. I don't think that's the answer. I think what I'd love to do, and I don't know if this is possible. I don't know if Kerry would accept it, but at the end of the year, I'd love to keep him as a cornerbacks coach and replace him as a defensive coordinator. Ideally, that is what I would love to do. I've seen something like that happen once ever. And that's when Luke Fickell agreed to become the defensive coordinator after being the head coach. I've never seen anything like that. And that was a real bizarre situation that allowed that to sort of happen with little to no hurt feelings. And quite frankly, a Luke Fickell who absolutely loves Ohio State and would do anything for Ohio. Like, I love Luke Fickell and he loves us, and that's all great. I don't necessarily see Kerry Coombs accepting a demotion. You just see that happen so rarely. So I think unless something drastic changes over the next few months, I think we're seeing Kerry Coombs last year at Ohio State.
Z Spikes asks, do we have the worst statistical 4th down defense in this country?
It would have to be up there.
Yeah, it would have to be up there. Yeah. I can't really pull that kind of number, but I would tell you 4th down offense, Ohio State's in the last quarter.
Now, I assumed he meant offense as well. You said he wrote defense. You said defense. I heard offense.
Yeah. Well, here's a question. Will Coombs from Stewart again? Will Coombs coordinate versus Rutgers?
Yes. I don't see him.
I think so too. Let's see here. Ty Hines.
By the way, we have a really nice showing in the live chat right now. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. Ty Hines asks, playoff chances stumped?
No.
It's only week 2. There's still a lot of football left. Ohio State's still in decent position to make the playoffs. You win out. You win out. We've said it many times over the past number of seasons. You get one life.
Yeah.
If you're playing like a Mario game, you get one life. That was Ohio State's one life. You can't mess up from there.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree.
All right, Buckeyes,
it's too early in the year for playoff scenarios, but neither Ohio State nor Clemson are out of it yet.
Yeah. Is this a day will not relinquish defensive control over to Coombs, or Coombs isn't cut out to be a college defensive coordinator?
The latter. There's a lot of insider stuff about the relationship currently going on between head coach and defensive coordinator right now, and it's not great. And there are certainly issues at play right now.
Yep. Buckeye Esquire, given the caliber of opponents over the next few weeks, what will will be sufficient to demonstrate defensive improvement? Do we need first team shutouts?
I don't know. What's you? I don't even necessarily need shutouts. I just need competence. I need variety. Um, and I need for the defense to not just look good against Akron. If you're playing Akron, I need you to dominate Akron. I don't expect them to do that, unfortunately. I don't know if they can completely redesign their defense in a week, because that appears to be
Yep.
what needs to happen. They need to completely redesign their defense. Uh, I just don't see it happen. I just don't see it happen. Um, the
Uh,
improvement will happen incrementally over time. And that's really all I can say about that.
Brawley asks, what is the strength of this team after 2 games?
The wide receivers, the wide receivers. I feel like they're good at pass protection. And again, I get that, like, CJ Stroud is doing really well. I think that people are just, again, people being lazy armchair analysts are ripping CJ Stroud right now. And I'm not saying he's perfect, but if CJ Stroud gets like a little bit better and he forces the defenses to not just go into straight up make CJ Stroud beat us mode, and that opens things up for the running backs, this offense becomes unstoppable.
Yep. All right. Last question here from Nomad. Besides putting Coombs in the booth, what else should Ohio State do to correct the defensive woes?
You again, complete redesign of the defense, more variety in the play calling. You can't live and die by man. And especially now with no Josh Proctor. One of the reasons why we've seen this defense work for Ohio State in the past was having amazing play, Jordan Fuller most notably at safety, and they're not going to have that now. So on top of them needing to stop doing it, they especially need to stop doing it now because they don't have Josh Proctor anymore.
Yep. All right. All right. We're way over in time, Jared. I don't have anything in Kyle's corner. So let's go ahead and end today's episode.
Yeah, I just want to encourage everyone to visit all of the stuff that we ask you to just go to thesloopcast.com. You can find merchandise links there. You can find YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and Discord and Patreon links there. So just go to thesloopcast.com, peruse all the links we have, and click on a few of them and see what happens. It might be fun. The Patreon too. We've got a few new Patreon people recently. The Discord seems to be growing more and more and more, like exponentially faster, and it's a lot of fun. So just come hang out with us. Tonight's ending music will be brought to you by a band called City Lights. They're a pop punk band. You can check them out on Bandcamp, and we'll drop links down in the show notes like we always do. So with all of that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, this is a pop punk band called City Lights.